3 days after burying her father in frozen ground, Clara Mitchell stood alone against 3 armed men who came to steal everything she had left. The most powerful man in the territory wanted her land, and he didn't care if she had to die for it. But Clara refused to run. She refused to break. And when a dangerous stranger with blood on his hands rode into her life, she made a choice that would change everything. She let him in. What happens when a woman with nothing left to lose meets a man who's been dead inside for 20 years? This is a story of fire, betrayal, and a love that was forged in the heart of a brutal Montana winter. Stay with me until the very end, because this ending, you won't see it coming. This story reminds us that courage isn't the absence of fear. It's choosing to stand your ground even when your hands are shaking. Sometimes the people we're told to fear become our greatest allies. And sometimes love finds us in the darkest chapter of our lives. If you believe that strong women deserve happy endings, hit that subscribe button and join this family. Drop a comment and tell me where you're watching from. I read every single one. And if this story touches your heart, share it with someone who needs to hear it today. Now, let's head to Copper Springs, Montana, in the hard winter of 1878. The wind bit clean through Clara's worn-out coat, but she stood her ground. She learned a long time ago that showing fear to men like Jonas Crane just makes them meaner. Clara's voice was firm, cutting through the cold. I gave you my answer 3 times already. It has not changed. Jonas shifted in his saddle, the leather groaning in the icy air. His 2 hired thugs kept their hands resting near their pistols. Miss Mitchell, I am trying to be a gentleman about this. Jonas tipped his hat back, showing a pair of cold, empty eyes. Mr. Blackwood has been mighty patient. Your daddy owed him a considerable sum, and that debt did not die with him. My father paid him back every cent. Clara's jaw set like stone. I have the paperwork to prove it. Papers get lost. Jonas grinned, and a cold knot formed in Clara's stomach. Accidents happen out here. A woman living all alone, well, that is just inviting trouble. Is that a threat, Mr. Crane? It is the way of the world, Miss Mitchell. He pulled on his reins. Mr. Blackwood's offer is off the table tomorrow at sundown. After that, I cannot promise you will be safe. Clara watched them disappear over the hill, her heart hammering against her ribs. Only then did she let out a shaky breath. Miss Clara. She turned to see Ezra Polk making his way from the barn, his old face etched with worry. The old-timer had worked for her father since she was a little girl. At 58 and with a bad army shoulder, he was the only family she had left. They are gone, Clara said, though her hands trembled. For now. I heard him. Ezra's voice was a low growl. That no-good snake. Your pa settled that debt. I was right there with him. Blackwood set fire to the bank's records last spring. Folks know he did it, but no one's got the proof. Clara hugged herself against the cold. Without those papers, it is just my word against his. We could fetch the territorial marshal. The marshal is 300 miles away, Ezra. By the time he rode in, Blackwood would own this whole place. She glanced at the fresh plot of earth where her father lay. I will not let him take it. This land is all I have left. Ezra placed his rough hand on her shoulder. Your daddy would be proud, Miss Clara, but pride cannot stop a bullet. He motioned toward the barn. Found another stretch of fence cut this morning. That is the 3rd time this month. They are trying to run off our herd. Clara shut her eyes. 20 head of cattle were all that kept her from ruin. If she lost them, she would have nothing to sell in the spring, and Blackwood would take everything. Can you mend it? Already done. But I am just one man with one good arm. Ezra paused. We are going to need some help. We cannot afford to hire anyone. We cannot afford not to. Clara was silent. 2 months ago, she had sold her mother's heirlooms just to buy winter feed. That money was nearly gone. She had been eating 1 meal a day to make things last, and she knew Ezra was doing the same. I am riding into town, she said at last. Maybe Mr. Harrison at the bank. Harrison is too scared of Blackwood. They all are. Ezra's tone was soft but true. You know that. She knew. For 20 years, Harlan Blackwood had built his kingdom in Copper Springs, owning the bank, the store, and half the ranches around. Any man who stood up to him had a habit of vanishing. The rest learned to look the other way. But Clara's father never taught her to bend a knee. "Then I will make him listen," she declared. The ride to town was brutal. By the time Clara reached Harrison's bank, her fingers were numb. She shoved the door open hard, making the young clerk jump. "I need to see Mr. Harrison," she demanded. The clerk, a boy named Timothy, looked nervous. "Miss Mitchell, Mr. Harrison is, busy right now. Then you had better make him unbusy." "Timothy," she said, leaning over the counter, "I have known you since you were 5 years old. I taught you your letters in Sunday school. So you can either go tell Mr. Harrison I am here, or I can go find his office myself. You decide." Timothy scurried to the back room. Clara waited, listening to her own heart pound. She felt the eyes of the other customers on her. Some looked sorry for her. Others just watched with morbid curiosity, like she was a woman on her way to the gallows. "Let them look," she thought. "Let them all look." The office door creaked open, and Theodore Harrison appeared. He was a small, fidgety man who was always adjusting his glasses. He used to be her father's friend, but now he could not even meet her gaze. "Miss Mitchell." His voice was a whisper. "We should talk in my office." The room was small and stuffy. Harrison pointed to a chair, but Clara refused to sit. "I need more time on my loan," she stated plainly. "Just until spring. When I sell my cattle, I will pay. I cannot do it." Harrison shook his head before she even finished. "The bank has a policy. The bank's policy is whatever Harlan Blackwood says it is." Clara stepped forward and Harrison shrank back. "We both know that is the truth. Miss Mitchell, please." He held up his hands like she was a threat. "I have a wife and children. My father had a child, too." Clara's voice caught, and she hated the weakness in it. "He built that ranch with his bare hands. He raised me there after my mother passed, and now you're going to let Blackwood steal it all because you are too scared to do what is right." Shame washed over Harrison's face, but his answer was the same. "I am sorry," he mumbled. "There is nothing I can do." Clara just stared at him for a moment, then gave a slow nod. "I see," she said, her voice turning to ice. "You are a coward. But at least you are honest about it." She walked out of the office and back into the biting cold, feeling completely numb. She felt like she was watching someone else's life fall apart from a long way off. And that is when she saw them. 3 men stood in front of Lawson's general store, blocking the way. It was Jonas Crane and his hired guns. But they were not looking for her. They were focused on someone inside. A chill went down Clara's spine. She could feel trouble brewing like a winter storm, but her feet carried her forward anyway. The door was slightly open. She pushed it and went inside. Margaret O'Brien, or Widow Maggie as folks called her, was trapped behind her own counter. At 45, Maggie was the toughest woman Clara knew. She had buried a husband, raised 3 kids on her own, and ran the best cafe in town. But right now her face was pale with fear. "I told you," Maggie said, her voice shaking. "I do not have that much money." "Well, then we have got a problem, do not we?" One of the thugs, a big man with a scarred face, reached out and grabbed Maggie's arm. "Mr. Blackwood does not like problems. Let her go." The words were out of Clara's mouth before she even thought. All 3 men turned. Jonas Crane's smile was full of pity. "Well, look who it is. Miss Mitchell, we were just talking about you." He took a step toward her. "Mrs. O'Brien here was just telling us she is a little short on her rent this month. Seems her best customer has not been around lately." His eyes shined with malice. "I believe that customer would be you." Clara's stomach dropped. Blackwood was not just after her ranch. He was going after anyone who showed her kindness. "This is between you and me," Clara said. "You leave her out of this." "Oh, there is no you and me, Miss Mitchell. You are just a stubborn girl who has not realized she is already beaten." Jonas signaled to the scarred man, who let Maggie go. "But I am a generous man. Sign your land over to me today, and I will forget all about Mrs. O'Brien's debt. Everybody gets something but me." Jonas just laughed. Honey, you lost everything the day your daddy passed on. You just haven't faced it. The door creaked open behind Clara, letting in a bitter wind. She kept her eyes locked on Jonas and his thugs, but she heard the slow, heavy footsteps on the wooden floorboards. Then she heard a voice. Seems to me the lady made herself clear. Jonas's smirk vanished. His gaze flicked to someone over Clara's shoulder. This doesn't concern you, stranger. I'm making it my concern. Clara finally turned. A tall man stood there in a dusty coat, his dark hair dusted with snow. His face was weathered from years in the sun, with eyes as dark as a starless night, and a faint scar down one cheek. His hand was resting near the pistol on his hip. He looked like trouble, but maybe he was the answer to a prayer. "Who in the hell are you?" Jonas growled. "The name's Sam Hayes." The stranger stepped inside the store, placing himself right between Clara and Jonas's men. "Just passing through. Can't say I like what I see." Jonas's eyes narrowed. Hayes. Samuel Hayes. A shadow crossed the stranger's face. Maybe he recognized the name, or maybe he was just tired of it. "You've heard of me. Every lawman from here to Texas knows your name." Jonas started to reach for his gun, but then he thought better of it. Bounty hunter. Word is you put down 8 men in Abilene. Folks say a lot of things. Sam's voice was low and even. Most of it's talk. So what's a man like you doing in Copper Springs? I told you, just passing through. Sam's eyes scanned the room, landing on Maggie's terrified face and Clara's steady defiance. Looks like I picked a bad time to stop for supplies. Jonas was thinking hard, weighing the risk of a fight against the shame of backing down. "Mr. Blackwood is not going to like this," Jonas said at last. "If your Mr. Blackwood has a problem, he can come talk to me himself." Sam offered a smile that had no warmth in it. "I'll be over at the saloon, unless he'd rather send more of his boys to run his errands." The insult just hung there in the quiet room. Jonas's face turned beet red. "This ain't over, Hayes. I didn't figure it was." For a long second, the air was thick enough to cut with a knife. Then Jonas jerked his head at the door. "Let's go." His men shuffled out behind him, throwing ugly looks back at them. The door slammed shut, and Clara let out a breath she didn't know she was holding. "Thank you," Maggie whispered. "Oh, thank you." Sam paid her no mind. He was looking at Clara, studying her in a way that made her skin crawl. "You're the Mitchell woman," he said. "It wasn't a question. How do you know me?" "Heard your name at the saloon." A woman standing alone against Harlan Blackwood. He almost seemed to respect that. "They're taking bets on how long you'll hold out." "And which side did you put your money on?" "I don't gamble." He walked to the door. "You ought to get on home before it gets dark. Men like Crane find their courage after the sun goes down." "Wait." Clara stepped toward him. "Why did you help us?" Sam was quiet for a moment. "I've seen men like Blackwood my whole life," he said. "They take whatever they want. They destroy what they can't have. Someone should have put a stop to them a long, long time ago." "And you're the one to do it?" "No, ma'am." His smile was bitter. "I stopped trying to be that man years ago. I just don't like to see wolves corner a lamb." He gave a slight tip of his hat and then was gone. Clara stared at the closed door. Her heart was pounding, not just with fear, but with a sliver of something that felt an awful lot like hope. "Clara." Maggie's voice pulled her back. "That man, I know." Clara turned to her. "Are you okay? Did they hurt you?" "I'm fine, but you're not." Maggie grabbed Clara's hands. "Jonas was right about one thing. I can't be your friend anymore. Blackwood is seeing to that." "Maggie, no. Just listen." Tears filled Maggie's eyes. "I want to help you. I swear I do, but I have my children to think of. I can't risk it." "I understand." Clara squeezed her hands tight. "I would never ask you to. That man, Hayes, he's dangerous." "I know." But maybe. Maggie stopped herself. Maybe dangerous is what you need right now. Clara thought about his words all the way home. She thought about them as she fed the stock and checked the fences. She thought about them while Ezra put their small dinner on the table and asked about her day. The bank said no, she told him, just like you figured. I'm sorry, Miss Clara. Don't be. Now I know for sure where we stand. She told him what happened at the store, about Crane's threats, and about the stranger named Sam. Ezra's face grew dark at the name. Samuel Hayes, he said. I know that name. He's a killer. He helped us. A man like that doesn't help for free. Ezra put his fork down. What does he want from you? Don't know. Clara looked down at her cold coffee. Maybe he wants nothing. Maybe he really was just passing through. But she couldn't shake the feeling that Samuel Hayes came to Copper Springs for a reason, and that their meeting was no accident. The knock on the door came near midnight. Clara was sitting by the low fire, her father's old shotgun resting across her lap. She had sent Ezra to bed hours ago, but sleep wouldn't come. Every creak of the old house made her jump. When the knock came, she nearly leaped from her chair. Miss Mitchell, the voice was deep and rough. It's Sam Hayes. Clara gripped the shotgun. She went to the door but did not open it. What is it you want? I found something you ought to see. At this hour? It didn't seem like the kind of thing that could wait. Clara stood there for a long moment. Everything inside her screamed not to open that door. But a stronger feeling pushed her to do it. She unlatched the bar and pulled the door open a crack. Sam stood there on the porch, his dark hair wet with melting snow. His face was a grim mask. In one hand, he held a bundle of oil-soaked rags. Found these tucked away by your barn, he said, along with these. He opened his other hand to show her 3 burnt matches. Clara's blood ran cold. Someone was trying to burn us out. They tried. Got spooked when they saw your light was still on. Sam's jaw was set like stone. They'll be back. How do I know it wasn't you? The words were sharper than she meant them to be. She couldn't afford to trust a soul. Not now. Sam didn't even blink. Miss Mitchell, if I wanted your ranch burned down, we'd be standing in a pile of ash right now. He looked her straight in the eye. I'm not your enemy, but I can't say I'm your friend either. One thing's for sure. I don't work for Blackwood. Then why are you here? Why are you helping me? Sam didn't answer right away. The wind howled around the small cabin. I knew a family once, he finally said. Good people, ranchers like you. They had land that somebody else wanted. His voice was empty of all feeling. They wouldn't sell. So one night, their house was set on fire. The parents never made it out. Clara's heart ached. Who was it? My parents. Sam's eyes met hers, and for the first time she saw the deep well of pain he kept hidden. I was 18 years old. I've been hunting the men who did it ever since. It all suddenly made a terrible kind of sense. Blackwood, she whispered. You think he was behind it? I know he was. It's the same method, the same kind of land grab. Sam's hand tightened on the rags. 20 years ago, he was running this same game up in Colorado. He used a different name back then, but it was the same monster. Clara looked at him, really saw him. The hard eyes, the careful stillness, the way the gun seemed to be a part of him. You're not just passing through, are you? No, ma'am, I'm not. What do you need from me? Nothing you're not willing to give. Sam placed the rags on the porch rail. I'm going to take Harlan Blackwood, with or without your help. But it would be a sight easier with someone who knows this land, knows the folks, and knows where all the skeletons are buried. He let that hang in the air. Clara knew she should have said no, should have sent him packing right then and there. She ought to have played it safe. But being safe had gotten her a whole lot of nothing. Safe had left her all alone with a dying ranch and a fire in her belly for justice. What exactly are you proposing? She asked. A hint of a smile touched Sam's lips. I'm proposing a partnership. I help you keep this ranch, and in return, you help me dig up the proof I need to put Blackwood away for good. If we fail together. His gaze met hers, steady and clear. Better than failing alone, he said. Clara thought of her father, cold in the earth. She thought of Blackwood's smug grin and the long, hard winter stretching out before her. Room and board, she heard herself say. That's all I can offer. Sam nodded once. That's all I need. She stepped back from the door and let him inside. The wind howled a fury outside, but for the first time in what felt like forever, Clara Mitchell didn't feel so completely on her own. Ezra did not take the news well. You did what? The old man's voice cut through the cold morning air like a lash. You let a stranger, a known killer, into this house? He's not, Clara started, but stopped. She couldn't say for certain what Sam was. He helped us, Ezra. He found those matches before the barn went up in smoke. Or maybe he planted them himself just to win your trust. I thought of that, Clara said, meeting his hard stare. And I decided it was a chance worth taking. Ezra's face was a mask of frustration. He paced the worn floorboards of the kitchen, his gait uneven from an old shoulder injury. Through the window they saw Sam, already out in the bitter cold, mending the damaged fence line. Your father trusted me to protect you, Ezra said, his voice low. How am I supposed to do that when you're inviting the wolf right through the front door? Sam Hayes ain't the wolf we need to worry about, Clara replied, pouring coffee into a tin cup. Blackwood is. And right now, we need every friend we can get. He ain't a friend. He's using you. Maybe, Clara said, handing him the cup. But I'm using him too. I figure that makes us even. Ezra looked at her for a long, hard moment, then shook his head. You're your father's daughter, all right. Stubborn as a mule. I'll take that as a compliment. It wasn't meant as one, he grumbled, but she saw the hint of affection in his eyes. Fine, the stranger can stay. But my shotgun's staying loaded, and my eyes are staying on him. I wouldn't have it any other way. Clara brought a cup of hot coffee out to Sam. He had already fixed a whole section of fence that had been cut just 2 days prior, his movements quick and sure in the biting cold. Ezra's not too pleased, she said, offering the cup. Didn't figure he would be, Sam said, wrapping his hands around the warmth. He's a smart man. He ought to be suspicious. Are you going to give him a reason to be? Sam's eyes met hers over the rim of the cup. No, ma'am, I am not. Something in his tone made her believe him. She gave a single nod and turned back to the house. Miss Mitchell. She stopped. Your north pasture, Sam said. There are tracks in the snow. 3 riders came through last night. They didn't just cut the fence, they ran off your cattle. Clara felt her stomach turn to ice. How many are gone? Can't say till I ride out and get a count, but the tracks lead straight toward Blackwood's land. Of course they do. I can track 'em. Bring back what's yours, Sam offered, his smile cold as steel. And start a war. That war's already here, Miss Mitchell, he said flatly. You just haven't been fighting back. He downed the last of his coffee, handed her the empty cup, and rode toward the north pasture without another word. Clara watched him go, a knot tightening in her chest. He was right. She'd been on the defensive for months, just taking every hit Blackwood threw her way. Maybe it was time to start throwing some punches of her own. She found Ezra in the barn. Sam found tracks, she told him. They scattered the herd. Lord Almighty, Ezra breathed, his face losing its color. How bad is it? We won't know till he gets back. And you're just trusting him to go out there alone? Do you have a better idea? Ezra said nothing. They both knew the hard truth of it. Neither of them could make that ride. Clara's horse was laid up with a stone bruise, and Ezra's shoulder wouldn't let him stay in a saddle for more than an hour. I don't like this one bit, Ezra muttered. Neither do I, Clara admitted. But we don't have a choice. The hours passed like molasses in winter. Clara tried to stay busy, but her eyes kept returning to the window, scanning the empty, snow-covered horizon for any sign of a rider. What if Sam didn't return? What if this was all just some elaborate trick? The sun was already sinking low when she finally spotted him, a dark shape moving against the white landscape, driving a small bunch of cattle before him. She grabbed her coat and ran out to meet him. 12 head, Sam called out as he rode into the yard. Found 'em huddled in a gully about 3 miles north. They wouldn't have lasted another day out there. 12. She had started the winter with 20. The others? Clara asked, her voice tight. Sam's jaw set like stone. On Blackwood's land. I saw them through the fence. His men were already putting their brand on him. Clara felt something inside her just snap. 8 head of cattle. 8 animals that stood for years of her father's sweat and dreams, stolen in a single night. We have to get them back. We can't, Sam said, his face grim as he dismounted. Not by the law, anyway. Once they're branded, it's your word against his. And round here, his word is gospel. Then we go to the marshal. That'll take weeks. Those cattle will be long gone by then. Sam stepped closer, his voice dropping low. I'm sorry, Miss Mitchell. Clara wanted to scream. Instead, she took a long, shaky breath and squared her shoulders. Then we'll just have to make sure he doesn't take any more. That night, the 3 of them held a council of war at the kitchen table. It was an unlikely alliance Clara, Ezra, and Sam held together by sheer necessity. We need to fortify this place, Sam said, spreading out a rough map he'd drawn. The north fence is your weak spot. It's where they always hit. We can't watch it all night, Ezra argued. There are only 3 of us. We don't have to watch it, Sam replied. We just have to make them think we are. He pointed to the map. I'll set up some decoys, a few lanterns, some scarecrows. Make it look like you've got hired men on patrol. Then I'll take the first watch. And if they come in force? They won't. Not yet, Sam said, his eyes hard. Blackwood wants this to look like just another struggling ranch going under. If he sends an army, folks will start asking questions. Folks are already talking, Clara said bitterly. Talking isn't the same as testifying in court. He needs to keep this quiet, Sam explained. And that's his weakness. He cares what people think. It's what people... So we use it, we make this whole thing public. We let everyone in Copper Springs know what he's doing, and we make him choose a side. Ezra snorted. Nobody's gonna choose our side. They're all too scared of him. Fear can change, Sam said quietly. All it takes is one person to stand up, then another and another. Next thing you know, the whole town is fighting back. That's a nice thought, Ezra said. It's not a thought, it's a plan, Sam countered. But first we have to survive long enough to see it through. They talked for another hour, planning out every detail they could think of. By the end, Clara's head was spinning. Get some rest, Sam told her. You're no good to us worn out. What about you? I don't need much sleep. He stood and reached for his coat. I'll take the first watch. Clara was too tired to argue. She just nodded and headed for the stairs. Miss Mitchell? She paused. You did good today, Sam said. Standing your ground like that. A lot of folks would have folded. I don't have the luxury of folding. No, he said, his voice softer now. I suppose you don't. The next few days fell into a new kind of rhythm. Sam worked from sunup to sundown, fixing fences, securing the barn, and setting up his decoys. Ezra watched his every move, but even he couldn't find fault with the work. The ranch hadn't been this secure in months. But it was the quiet nights that surprised Clara the most. After Ezra went to bed, she and Sam would sit by the fire and just talk. Not about Blackwood or the ranch, but about everything else. He told her about places he'd been and things he'd seen. She told him about growing up on the ranch, about her father's big dreams for this land, and about the mother she never got the chance to know. "She died when I was born," Clara said one night, her eyes on the dancing flames. "My father, he never really got over it. Never took another wife. Claimed she was the only one he'd ever love." "Well, that's a rare thing," Sam said softly. "You think so?" Clara looked over at him. "Have you ever felt that way about someone?" Sam was quiet for a good long while. When he finally spoke, his voice was thick with old dust. "Once, a long time back." He didn't say more, and she knew not to ask. "What happened to her?" "She married another fella, a safer one." His smile was all bitterness. "Can't say I blame her. I wasn't exactly the kind of man you bring home to Mama." He shook his head. "And now I'm just a ghost, Miss Mitchell. Been dead on the inside for so long, I plumb forgot what it feels like to be alive." Clara should have left it alone, but she heard herself say, "Maybe it is not too late to remember." Across the fire, Sam's eyes found hers. Something sparked between them, a notion that neither was ready to put a name to. "Maybe," he whispered. The spell broke when Ezra's heavy boots thumped on the stairs. Clara shot to her feet, smoothing her skirt. "I should be getting to bed." "Yes," Sam's voice was back, to being a wall. "You should." She climbed the stairs without a look back. That uneasy truce held for 5 days. On the morning of the 6th, the thunder of many hooves woke Clara. She threw on a coat and ran outside, her heart hammering against her ribs. A whole procession was marching up the road. Harlan Blackwood led the charge with Jonas Crane and a half-dozen hired guns at his side. Sam was already on the porch, rifle in hand. Ezra came out of the barn holding a shotgun. "Get behind me," Sam told Clara as she reached the porch. "No," she said. His jaw set hard, but he did not argue. Blackwood reined in his horse a few yards away. He was dressed sharp as a tack, his silver hair shining under the pale winter sun. He looked like a gentleman, which meant he was a snake. "Miss Mitchell," his voice was smooth as creek water. "I trust I am not interrupting." "You are always interrupting, Mr. Blackwood. What is it you want?" "Direct, just like your father." Blackwood's smile was a cold thing that never touched his eyes. "I have come with a final offer, a mighty generous one, considering." "I have already given you my answer." "Ah, but things change." Blackwood's eyes slid over to Sam. "I see you have hired some new help. Mr. Hayes, is it not?" "Blackwood," Sam's voice was flat as a skillet. "I must admit I was surprised to hear a man with your reputation was working as a common ranch hand. Makes a man wonder what you are truly after." "A man can wonder about all sorts of things," Sam shot back. "Like how Miss Mitchell's cattle keep wandering off her land and onto yours." Blackwood's smile stayed put, but his eyes went icy. "Cattle stray. It is a sad fact of winter. Funny how they only seem to stray in one direction." "Mr. Hayes," Blackwood said, his voice hardening, "I know exactly who you are, and I know why you are here." He turned his cold gaze back to Clara. "Did your new man tell you about his past, Miss Mitchell? About the men he has put in the ground?" Clara's gut twisted, but her voice was steady. "Mr. Hayes' past is his own business." "Is it? Even when his past involves hunting down my own brother for money?" The word struck her like a fist. Clara spun to face Sam, her eyes demanding the truth. "Is it true?" Sam's face was carved from stone. "Part of it." "Which part?" "I hunted your brother," Sam said, his gaze locked on Blackwood. "But I did not kill him. He took his own life when he saw me coming. Put a pistol in his mouth, rather than face justice." "Lies." Blackwood's composure finally shattered, revealing the raw fury underneath. You murdered him. Your brother murdered my family, Sam's voice dropped to a deadly whisper. Burned our home with my mother and sister still inside. I tracked him for 3 years. When I finally cornered him, he chose the coward's way out. The air crackled with a hate so thick you could taste it. That is enough, Clara said, her voice sharp. Blackwood pulled himself together when he spoke. Again, his voice was dangerously calm. You are making a grave mistake, Miss Mitchell. This man will only bring you ruin. He nodded to Jonas. But my offer still stands. I will double the last one. More than enough for a fresh start somewhere far away. I do not need to hear the amount, Clara said, stepping forward with her chin held high. This land is mine. It was my father's. It will never be yours. Never is a mighty long time, Miss Mitchell. Blackwood took up his reins. I surely hope you do not live to regret that word. He turned his horse and rode off, his men trailing behind him like vultures. When they were gone, Clara felt a tremor run through her. Clara, Sam's hand was on her elbow. You did right. I challenged him in front of his men, she said, turning to Sam. He will not let that go. No, Sam agreed, his face grim. He will not. Now it is going to get ugly. And that night, it did. A gunshot ripped Clara from a dream about fire. She grabbed her father's shotgun and flew down the stairs. Through the window she saw it, flames eating the side of the barn. No, she burst, out the door and ran. Sam was already there, fighting the blaze with a horse blanket. Ezra stumbled out from his quarters, coughing, leading the panicked horses away from the danger. The water trough, Sam yelled. Get buckets! Clara ran, her lungs screaming from smoke and cold air. Her hands went numb as she hauled bucket after bucket to Sam, watching him battle the fire like a man possessed. After an eternity, the flames sputtered out. The barn was still standing, but one wall was a charred ruin. Everyone okay? Sam asked, his voice ragged. I'm fine, Clara gasped, bent over and breathing hard. Still kicking, Ezra said, leaning on the corral fence. Saw 'em. 3 riders heading west. Recognize them? Too dark, Ezra said. But I know Blackwood's dirty work when I see it. Clara straightened up, a rage burning inside her. He thinks he can scare us off this land, she said. He thinks we will just break. Miss Clara, Ezra's voice was heavy with defeat. They nearly burned us alive. They will be back. Let them try, Clara said, turning to Sam. You said we had to make this public. Well, that is what we will do. Tomorrow I am riding into town. I am going to tell every soul what Blackwood did here tonight. I will make them see the man for what he truly is. That is a dangerous game, Sam warned. Then he will have to stop me on Main Street in front of everyone. Clara's eyes flashed. Sam watched her for a long moment, then gave a slow nod. I will ride with you. Me too, Ezra added. If we are making a stand, we do it together. Clara felt a sting in her eyes, not of fear, but of gratitude. Together, she agreed. Tomorrow, we fight. But none of them saw the lone figure watching from the trees. Jonas Crane sat on his horse, his face a mask in the moonlight. He had been ordered to watch, to report back. But the woman's spirit, her refusal to be broken, stirred something in him he thought was long dead. He turned his horse, his mind a storm. This was far from over. And for the first time in a long while, Jonas Crane was not sure which side he was on. Riding into Copper Springs was like walking straight into a den of wolves. Clara sat tall in the saddle, her eyes fixed ahead, refusing to let the fear show. Sam was on her right, Ezra on her left. 3 people against an empire. The odds were long, but her father never cared about odds, and neither would she. The town was alive with folks. They stopped and stared as the 3 of them rode down the main street. The Mitchell woman, the old ranch hand, and the bounty hunter. Clara felt their stares like pinpricks. She pulled her horse to a stop. Clara walked right into the general store, the whole place going quiet. "I need you all to listen," she said, her voice steady. "Harlan Blackwood's men tried to burn my barn last night. That makes 4 attacks in 2 weeks." A nervous buzz went through the room. "You all knew my father was an honest man who built his ranch from nothing. Now Blackwood is trying to take it." Someone whispered it was a heavy charge to make. "It is the truth," Clara declared, pulling out a charred board. She held the wood high for everyone to see. "Is this what Copper Springs is now? A town that lets a bully run a woman off her land?" From the back, Maggie O'Brien spoke up, her voice trembling but firm. "She is right. Blackwood threatened my cafe. He is the reason my husband is gone." Just then, Jonas Crane blocked the doorway with 2 of Blackwood's thugs. "Miss Mitchell, Mr. Blackwood wants to see you." "I'm not done here," Clara said. "Oh, yes, you are," Jonas replied, stepping toward her. Sam moved to her side, his hand near his gun. "You really want to drag her out in front of everybody?" Jonas looked at all the watching faces and seemed to think better of it. "Mr. Blackwood will hear about this," he sneered before turning to leave, his men right behind him. Clara let out a long breath. "Thank you," she told the crowd. "Just open your eyes to what is happening here." Outside, Sam saw her hands shaking. "You did a good thing in there," he said. "That is how it starts." They rode back to the ranch, an unspoken tension hanging in the air. She had made her move, and now she had to wait. She did not have to wait long. 2 hours later, a single rider came into view. It was Deputy Marshal Thomas Cole. He tipped his hat as he rode up. "Miss Mitchell, I heard what you did in town. That was a brave move." "Or a foolish one," Clara replied. "Sometimes they are the same thing," Cole said, swinging down from his horse. "I have been building a case against Blackwood for 2 years, but I never had witnesses who would talk. Now, with Mrs. O'Brien's statement, things have changed. I need to know everything." "Yes," Clara said without a second thought. She spent the afternoon telling him everything, showing him her father's papers that proved the debt was paid in full. "This is very good," Cole said, looking over the documents. "But I need someone from inside Blackwood's crew to talk." Sam scoffed. "His men are loyal." "Maybe not all of them," Cole replied. "I hear Jonas Crane is not happy. He might be the one to approach." Clara could not believe it. "He is Blackwood's top man. He has threatened me himself." Cole stood to leave. "Threatened you, but never laid a hand on you. There is a difference." After Cole left, Clara asked Sam if he thought the deputy was right about Crane. "Maybe," Sam said. "Some men do bad things because they feel trapped. Give them a way out, and they will take it." "That is a lot of faith to put in that man," she said. Sam gave a bitter laugh. "Not faith, just experience." She looked at him in the firelight. "What about you, Sam? Are you complicated?" He was quiet for a moment. "I have done things I am not proud of," he admitted. "Blackwood was not lying about his brother. I hunted him down, and when he ended his own life, a part of me was glad." "Why are you telling me this?" she asked softly. "Because you deserve the truth. You trusted me for no good reason." "And who are you, Sam Hayes?" "A man trying to be better than he was," he said, his voice thick with emotion. "A man who—" He stopped himself. "It matters to me," Clara said, stepping close to him. "I am not a good man, Clara." She reached up and touched the scar on his cheek. "But you are trying to be." He covered her hand with his, and then he kissed her, not gently, but with a desperate hunger that she returned with all her heart. When they finally pulled apart, breathing hard, Sam whispered, "This is a mistake." "Probably," she said. "Blackwood will use it against you." "Let him," she replied, and he gave her a true, real smile. In that perfect moment, the world outside fell away. Then a gunshot shattered the peace. Sam moved in a blur, pushing her down and drawing his pistol. Ezra appeared with a shotgun. "They are coming! At least 10 of them!" Sam's face turned to stone. "That is not a raid," he said. "That is an army." A window exploded, showering the floor with glass. Clara grabbed her father's shotgun from the wall. "I am not leaving this house. If Blackwood wants this land, he will have to kill me for it." "That is his plan," Sam said grimly. Just then, a voice yelled from outside. "Mitchell! Can you hear me?" Clara froze. It was Jonas Crane. "Send out Hayes," he called. "Send him out and this all ends right now. No one else gets hurt." "It is a trap," Sam warned. But Clara was already moving toward the door. She opened it to see Jonas standing alone in the yard, his hands raised to show they were empty. "I just want to talk," he said, his voice sounding tired and defeated. That was replaced by something else entirely. "Sam," she said, her voice low. "Put your gun down." "Have you lost your mind?" "Maybe. Do it." After a tense moment, Sam lowered his rifle. Jonas stepped onto the porch. "Blackwood sent us to burn you out," he admitted. "To kill anyone who fought back and make it all look like a terrible accident." Clara felt a chill run down her spine. "Then why are you telling me this?" "Because I am tired," Jonas's voice wavered. "I have done awful things for that man. Things I can't undo." He looked straight at her, and in his eyes she saw pure shame. "You remind me of my sister. She had that same fire, that same stubborn grit. She died because I failed to protect her." "I am sorry for your loss," Clara said, "but that is no excuse." "I know," Jonas said, reaching into his coat. He pulled out a folded paper. "This is a ledger. Names, dates, figures. Every crooked deal Blackwood has made for the past 10 years. I kept my own books because I always knew someday." He trailed off. "Someday what?" "Someday I would need a way out. Or someday I would find my courage." Jonas held the paper out. "Take it. Give it to the deputy marshal. This is enough to put Blackwood away for good." Clara took the paper, her hand trembling. "Why are you doing this now?" "Because you stood your ground," Jonas said with a sad smile. "In that store, you spoke the truth when no one else has in 20 years. Not a single soul." He shook his head. "If a woman with nothing left to lose can still put up a fight, then maybe I can too." "And the men with you?" "Some of them feel like I do. The others," Jonas glanced over his shoulder, "they will just follow whoever seems to be winning. Right now, they are not sure who that is." Sam stepped forward. "You are saying they could turn on him?" "I am saying they are scared. They have seen Blackwood as untouchable for so long they forgot he is just a man." Jonas looked back at Clara. "Show them he can bleed, and half his crew will scatter to the winds. The other half will fight to the death, including Blackwood himself." "He is here, Miss Mitchell, watching us from the trees. When I do not return with Hayes's body, he will come for you himself." Clara's heart pounded against her ribs. "Then we end this tonight. You will need more than just 3 people." "We have you now," Clara said, holding up the ledger. "And we have this." "It is not enough." "Then you will help us make it enough." Clara's voice was fierce. "You said you are tired of doing bad things, then prove it. Stand with us. Fight for something good for once." Jonas just stared at her. "You really are just like her," he said quietly. "My sister." "What was her name?" "Mary," he choked out the word. "Then do this for Mary. Fight for her, and for everyone Blackwood has ever hurt." Clara held out her hand. "Fight with us." Jonas looked at her hand, then to Sam, and then to Ezra holding his shotgun in the doorway. He slowly reached out and took her hand. "Lord help us," he muttered. "What is the plan?" They moved quickly. Jonas went back to his men. Some of them turned tail and rode off right away, wanting no part of a real gunfight. But others stayed, swayed by what Jonas told them. In the end, 6 men stood with Clara. 6 men and 1 old ranch hand against Harlan Blackwood's crew. "He will come from the north," Jonas said. "He will expect us to be scattered and scared." "Then we will not be scattered," Sam declared. "We will be ready." They took their positions. Sam went to the barn, giving him a clear shot. Ezra stayed on the porch. Jonas and his men took cover along the fence line, but Clara refused to hide. "If Blackwood wants this ranch, he can face me for it," she stated. "Clara, that is a fool's plan." "I am done hiding, Sam." Her eyes burned in the torchlight. "This is my land, my fight. I will meet him on my feet." There was no time to argue. Hoofbeats cut through the quiet dark. They were coming. Clara stood alone before her house, her father's shotgun held tight in her hands. Behind her, she knew Sam was watching from the barn, ready to step in. But she had to face this moment herself. Harlan Blackwood rode into the yard like he owned the whole world. 4 heavily armed men flanked him. His silver hair shined in the moonlight, and his eyes were as cold as a winter night. "Miss Mitchell," his voice was smooth but sharp. "I must admit I am impressed. I did not take you for a fighter." "You do not know the first thing about me." "I know enough," Blackwood said as he slowly swung down from his horse. "I know you are all alone. I know that by sunrise this place will be nothing but smoke. And I know you are terrified. You are wrong." "Am I?" He took a step closer. "Your hands are shaking." Clara glanced down. He was right. Her hands trembled on the shotgun, but when she looked up, her gaze was solid as a rock. "My hands are shaking because I am furious," she said. "Not because I am scared. Anger. Fear. It all ends the same way." Blackwood spread his arms wide. "Either way, you are the one who loses." "I do not think so." A single shot rang out. One of Blackwood's men fell from his saddle. For a moment, all hell broke loose. Men yelled, horses whinnied, and guns fired. Clara dove behind the water trough, firing her shotgun twice. She saw another of Blackwood's men go down. Then Sam appeared from the barn like a storm, both his pistols blazing. 2 more riders fell before they even knew what hit them. Jonas and his men rushed in from the fence, taking down the last of Blackwood's crew. In just a few seconds, it was finished. Harlan Blackwood stood alone, surrounded by the very men who used to follow his orders. His face was a mask of shock and rage. "You betrayed me," he spat at Jonas. "After all I gave you." "You gave me nothing," Jonas replied, his gun steady. "You just made me into a monster. It is over, Blackwood." "Over?" Blackwood let out a hollow laugh. "You think this is the end? I own this entire valley, the sheriff, the judge. You cannot touch me." "Maybe we cannot," Clara said, stepping forward with the ledger in her hand. "But the territorial marshal can. And thanks to your man here, I have everything he will need." Blackwood's eyes locked onto the paper. "That is mine," he whispered. He turned on Jonas. "You gave her my private records. I gave her the truth." For a second, Clara thought Blackwood might give up. His face seemed to age 10 years. Then his hand moved like a snake. She saw the small, deadly derringer appear from his sleeve. She saw it pointed at her. She saw death in his eyes, and then she saw Sam Hayes move faster than any man she had ever seen. The gunshot was deafening. Blackwood stumbled back, grabbing at his chest as the small pistol fell from his hand. He looked down at the dark stain spreading on his shirt, then up at Sam's smoking gun. "You," Blackwood coughed, blood on his lips. "You think you have won?" "I know we have," Sam said softly. Blackwood tried to say more, but the words were gone. He collapsed in the snow, and the light left his eyes, went out. For a long, quiet moment, nobody moved. Then Clara's knees buckled. Sam caught her before she hit the dirt. "It is over," he said, holding her tight. "Clara, it is really over." She looked up at him, her vision blurry with tears. "Is it?" Sam kissed her forehead. For tonight, he said. Yes. All around them, the darkness began to give way to dawn. And for the first time in a very long time, Clara Mitchell felt a flicker of something she had almost forgotten. Hope. The sun came up on a different world. Clara stood in the yard where Harlan Blackwood had fallen. The snow was still red, but new flakes were starting to cover the stain. By afternoon, it would be hidden. But Clara knew she would never forget. You ought to get some rest. It was Sam's voice behind her. I cannot. She did not turn. Every time I close my eyes, I see a face. Blackwood's? No, Clara finally looked at him. My father's. I keep wondering what he would think about all this. Sam stepped closer, near enough to touch her, but did not. What do you think he would say? Clara was quiet for a while. I think he would say, I did what had to be done. Her voice trembled. I think he would be proud. But I also think he would be heartbroken. Sad that his little girl had to watch men die. You did not kill anyone, Clara. Did I not? She looked at her own hands. I made the choices that brought us here. I refused to run. I am the one who started this fight. You defended your home, Sam's voice was firm. There is no shame in that. I know, Clara said, wrapping her arms around her body. But there is no glory in it either. There is only surviving. The sound of horses interrupted them. Deputy Marshal Cole rode into the yard, followed by 2 lawmen she did not know. Miss Mitchell, Mr. Hayes. Cole dismounted, his eyes taking in the scene. I heard there was trouble. I will need to get a statement from everyone here. The hours after the raid were a blur of questions for Clara. She repeated her story until the words felt hollow. Sam, Jonas, and the others gave their own accounts. Through it all, a strange quiet settled over her. When the interviews finally ended, Cole approached her. Miss Mitchell, he said, tipping his hat, I need a private word. Clara led him into the kitchen. She stopped Sam at the door. Just a minute, she told him. He hesitated but respected her wish. Cole sat at the table, but Clara was too restless to join him. There's going to be a trial, he began. Not for Blackwood, since dead men can't be judged, but for every last one of his men who followed his orders, Jonas included. Cole's gaze was direct. Jonas Crane has done some awful things. I have testimony that ties him to 3 murders and a half-dozen fires, Cole continued. Clara felt a cold dread creep in. But he helped us, she insisted. He turned on Blackwood. We would all be dead without him. Cole let out a slow breath. I know. That's why I'm willing to offer him a deal. If he testifies against all of Blackwood's other men, he'll get a reduced sentence. It will be prison, not the gallows. You want me to convince him, she stated. I want him to have a shot at redemption, Cole replied, standing up. And you're the only one I figure he'll listen to. Clara found Jonas in the barn, his head buried in his hands. He looked up, and for the first time she saw pure fear in his eyes. They're gonna hang me, ain't they? He asked, his voice empty. No, Clara said, sitting near him. Cole is offering a deal. Testify, and you'll get prison time instead. Jonas gave a bitter laugh. Prison? I've sent plenty of men to prison, Miss Mitchell. The rope might be a mercy. Maybe, Clara said, meeting his gaze. But you would still be alive. You'd have a chance to make things right. Help people? He scoffed. How could I ever make up for the things I've done? I don't know, she admitted. But death is the end of all chances. She stood. You told me I reminded you of your sister. Would she want you to give up, or would she want you to fight? Jonas was silent for a long moment. Mary never quit on anything, he finally whispered. Then you need to honor her fight. He looked up, a flicker of something new in his eyes. You really think a man can change? Clara thought of Sam and the long, dark road he had traveled. Yes, she said with certainty. I really do. Jonas took the deal. The trial began the following week, and it was his testimony that blew the case wide open. He laid bare the entire rotten enterprise, naming every man and every crime. He even had records of it all. He documented every dirty deal, Clara whispered to Sam in the gallery. Smart man, Sam murmured back. Or a paranoid one. The verdicts were swift and harsh. 3 of Blackwood's men were sentenced to hang. 5 others received long prison terms. Jonas was given 10 years with a chance of parole after 5. As the judge's gavel fell one last time, a weight lifted from Clara's shoulders. It's really over, she said, her voice full of wonder. Sam took her hand gently. The trial is, the rest is just beginning. What do you mean by that? She asked. He led her outside, away from the courthouse crowd. I've been doing some thinking about what comes next for us. Clara's heart skipped a beat. She had been avoiding this very topic. And what did you decide? Sam took a moment before speaking. 20 years ago, I lost everything, he said, his voice low. My family, my home, any faith I had in people. I've spent all that time since just running and hunting, trying to fill this hole inside me with some kind of justice. Did you ever find it? She asked softly. No, he admitted with a sad smile. Nothing worked. The bounties, the men I put down, the miles I rode. That hole just got bigger. Then I came to Copper Springs looking for revenge, he continued. I thought putting Blackwood in the ground would finally bring me peace. He shook his head. It didn't. I pulled that trigger, and I felt nothing but empty. So what changed? Sam's voice was thick with emotion. You did. Your grit, your pure stubbornness, the way you refused to back down. He stepped closer to her. For the first time in 20 years, I found something to fight for that was about life, not death. He took a deep breath. I'm saying, I want to stay, Clara, with you. His eyes searched hers. I'm saying I love you, and I want to spend whatever time I've got left being a man you can be proud of. Clara was speechless, her heart hammering against her ribs. She wanted to say yes, to throw her arms around him, but a deep-seated fear held her back. I need some time to think, she managed to say. This is all happening so fast. A flicker of disappointment crossed his face, but he nodded. Take all the time you need. He let go of her hands and walked away, leaving her alone with her whirling thoughts. She knew she loved him, but love wasn't always simple. Ezra was waiting with the horses. Ready to head home, Miss Clara? More than ready, she said, mounting up. They rode in silence for a while, Clara replaying Sam's words in her mind. Finally, Ezra broke the quiet. He loves you, you know. Clara looked over at the old man. That Hayes fella, Ezra explained. He looks at you the same way your daddy used to look at your mother's picture. A man can't fake that. That doesn't mean it's meant to be, she said. Nothing's guaranteed, Ezra agreed with a shrug. But you don't get nowhere in this life by playing it safe. Your father knew that. It's why he built that whole ranch from scratch. He took a big chance. Clara considered her father's legacy, the risks he had taken. He had always believed the best things in life were on the other side of fear. What would you do? She asked him quietly. Well, Ezra said after a pause, I'd ask myself one thing. In 20 years, when you look back, which will you regret more? Giving that man a chance, or not giving him one? Clara still didn't have an answer. They got back to the ranch as the sun bled across the horizon. Everything looked different, more peaceful. The barn was rebuilt. The fences were mended. It finally feels calm, she said. First time in a long time, Ezra agreed, dismounting. No one trying to burn us down. Just peace. Peace. The word felt foreign to Clara. She realized she hadn't felt it since before her father's death, before Blackwood's reign of terror began. She went inside the quiet house. Everything was just as she had left it, but she was not the same person who had lived there before. She sat at the kitchen table right where she had first struck her deal with Sam and thought about the future. How much her life had turned around. She'd gone from being a woman alone and scared to one who was finally free. A quiet knock on the door startled her. It was Sam. His voice was hesitant. "Clara, can I come in for a minute?" When she opened the door, he was just standing there on the porch, holding his hat and looking more lost than she'd ever seen him. The confident bounty hunter she knew was gone, replaced by a man waiting to hear his fate. "I'm sorry. I couldn't wait," he said. "I know you asked for some space, but I had to know." "Know what?" "If there's any hope at all that you feel the same way about me." His voice was thick with emotion. "Because if you don't, I have to leave this place. I can't stay here seeing you every day and knowing you don't love me back. It would break me." Clara just looked at him, really seeing the man. The scar on his cheek, the worry lines around his eyes, the gray creeping into his dark hair. He wasn't some young, handsome fella. He was a hard man, damaged and haunted by a past she might never grasp. But he was also courageous and true. He had risked his own life and everything he had just to keep her safe. "I was thinking," she said, "about what Ezra told me about regrets. He asked if I would regret not giving you a chance." As Clara stepped toward him, she continued, "And I knew I wouldn't. The only thing I would regret is letting fear run my life." A flicker of hope sparked in Sam's eyes. "What are you trying to tell me?" "I am saying yes," Clara whispered, reaching up to touch his face. "I am saying I love you too, Sam Hayes. And I want you to stay right here." For a heartbeat, Sam just stood there, frozen. Then his arms wrapped around her, pulling her close as he kissed her. "Nothing else in the world mattered. I'll spend the rest of my life earning this," he murmured against her lips. "Every single day." "I know you will," she answered. They just held each other in the doorway as the sun finally set. Behind them, Ezra put fresh logs on the fire, and the ranch grew quiet for the night. For the first time, Clara felt a true sense of peace. But she would soon learn that peace can be a fragile thing. 3 days later, a stranger rode hard into the yard. He was a young man, barely 20, with sandy hair and panicked eyes. His horse was covered in sweat. "Miss Mitchell?" he gasped as he slid from the saddle. "Clara Mitchell, that's me." Clara's hand drifted toward her pistol out of pure habit. "Who are you?" "My name is Daniel Reed. I am from Silver Creek, about 50 miles north of here." The boy was shaking, and it was not from the cold. It was pure fear. "We heard stories about what you did, how you took down Blackwood. Word gets around. We need your help." Daniel's voice cracked with desperation. "There is a man named Marcus Stone, and he is doing the exact same thing. He is forcing people off their land. Just last week he murdered my father." A chill went down Clara's spine. "I am so sorry for your loss. But what do you want from me? We want you to fight him, just like you fought Blackwood." Daniel pleaded with her. "Please, Miss Mitchell. You are the only person we have ever heard of who has beaten a man like that. We are out of options." Sam came out of the barn, his gaze locking on the stranger. "What is going on here?" "Another man like Blackwood," Clara said softly. "Just a different town." Sam's jaw clenched. "That is not our fight." "How can you say that?" Daniel shot back. "You of all people should understand what men like him do if they are not stopped." "I understand better than anybody," Sam said, his voice like stone. "That is why I know what it costs to fight them." He looked directly at Clara. "We just got our lives back. We finally found some peace." "And what about them?" Clara asked, pointing at Daniel. "Do the folks in Silver Creek not deserve peace too? That is not fair. Life is not fair." Clara stepped right up to him. When you rode in here, I had every reason in the world to send you away, but I did not. I took a risk on you. Now someone else is asking for help. How can I turn them away?" Sam just stared at her for a long moment. "You are really going to do this?" It was not a question. "I have to. If we do not stand up for people who cannot defend themselves, then what was all our struggle for? The point was for us to survive. It was about us. And what kind of people are we if we just turn our backs?" Sam did not say a word, but she saw the answer in his eyes. "You are not going by yourself," he finally said. "I would not have it any other way." They set out the next morning, but to everyone's surprise, Jonas Crane joined them. "I thought you were supposed to be in jail," Clara said as he rode up. "I got out early," Jonas said with a grim smile. "Good behavior. It turns out that saving a lady's life looks good on your record. And you want to ride with us to Silver Creek? I spent 20 years of my life helping men like Stone ruin people." Jonas's gaze was hard. "I figure it is about time I helped the other side for a change." Ezra watched them get on their horses from the porch. "You sure about this, Miss Clara?" "No," she said with a small smile. "But I am going. Your daddy would be mighty proud of you. I surely hope so." She took one last look at her ranch, her home. "Keep it safe for me, Ezra. I will guard it with my life." Clara turned her horse and rode out, with Sam on her right and Jonas on her left. The ranch got smaller and smaller behind them. Ahead lay Silver Creek, and a whole new fight. But Clara was not afraid. She had faced down death and found love where she least expected it. She had learned that courage was not about being fearless. It was about acting even when you were scared. Whatever was coming, she would face it. She would never be alone again. The road ahead was long and cold, but Clara Mitchell rode on with her head held high. Silver Creek was smaller than her town, but the fear was the same. She saw it in the faces of the people on the street. They had the same hollow eyes and broken spirit she once had. "The Reed place is just beyond the church," Daniel said quietly. "What is left of it anyway?" They found Daniel's mother on the charred steps of what used to be her home. She was a small woman with tired red eyes. "You really came," she whispered as they approached. "Daniel said you would, but I did not dare to hope." "We came," Clara said, kneeling beside her. "Tell me what happened." The story was sickeningly familiar. Marcus Stone showed up 3 years ago, buying land for next to nothing. When the Reeds refused to sell their property, the trouble began. Fences were cut. Cattle disappeared. Then, 2 weeks ago, a fire in the barn killed Daniel's father. "The sheriff called it an accident," Mrs. Reed said. "Said a lamp must have been knocked over. But my Thomas was never careless with lamps, never." "Where can we find this Stone?" Sam asked. "His ranch is about 5 miles east, but he has 20 hired guns, and the sheriff is in his pocket." Mrs. Reed's voice trembled. "We are not fighters, Miss Mitchell. We are just simple farmers." "That is all right," Clara said, taking the woman's hands. "That is what we are here for." They set up camp at the Reed's place that night to make a plan. Marcus Stone was not like Blackwood. He was a predator who did his dirty work in the shadows. "We need proof," Jonas said, "something that connects him to that fire. Without it, it is just our word against a rich man's. And his word means more around here," Daniel added. Sam was quiet, just staring into the campfire. "There might be another way," he finally said. "What are you thinking?" Clara asked. "Stone has no idea who I am. To him, I am just another man looking for work. I could get hired on," Sam explained, "learn how he operates from the inside and find the proof we need." "That is a fool's plan," Jonas stated plainly. "If he figures out who you are a dead man." "He will not," Sam said. "Not until it is too late." Clara felt her heart drop. "Sam, no. There has to be a different way." "There is not," Sam said, looking right at her. "You know it. This man is clever. He has been getting away with this for years. The only way to bring him down is from the inside. And if it goes wrong, then you finish what we started here." His voice was firm. "With or without me." Clara wanted to argue, to scream at him not to take such a terrible risk, but she saw the resolve in his eyes and knew he was right. "How long will you need?" she asked. "A week, maybe less," Sam said as he stood up. "I will ride out tomorrow morning and ask about a job. And if he does not hire you—" "Oh, he will," Sam said with a cold smile. "Men like him always need men like me." Sleep wouldn't come. Clara found Sam on the porch, his eyes on the night sky. "You ought to get some rest," he said as she approached. "So should you," she replied, sitting beside him. Their shoulders brushed. "I just keep thinking of all the ways this could go wrong," she confessed. "You out there alone. One wrong move, one mistake, and—" "I know," he said, taking her hand. "I've been playing roles like this for a long time." "That's what I'm afraid of," she whispered. "The hunter you were for 20 years. What if that man comes back?" Sam was quiet for a long time. "I've thought a lot about who I was and who I'm trying to be," he said, turning to her. "You're my anchor now, Clara. Everything I do from here on out is about coming home to you." "Promise me," she pleaded, her voice breaking. "Promise you'll come back. Promise me you will not do anything foolish. Promise you will look after yourself first." Sam gave her one of his rare, true smiles that changed his whole face. "I cannot promise that. But I can promise to fight like hell to get back to you." He kissed her forehead. "That is the best I can do." It was not enough, but it had to be. Sam rode out at dawn. Clara watched him go, her heart a stone in her throat. Then she turned back to the others. "We have got work to do." The next few days were a whirlwind. Clara and Jonas dug up every piece of information they could on Stone's operation. Daniel quietly spread the word to the other ranchers, building a small alliance of the brave. On the third day, Maggie showed up from Copper Springs. "Ezra sent for me," she said, giving Clara a hug. "He said you might need some help." "Maggie, this isn't your fight. The hell it is not." Maggie's eyes flashed with fire. "My husband is gone because men like Stone think they can just take what they want. If I can help stop that from happening to you, then I will." Within a week, they had a plan. And they had something more. They had a whole network of ranchers who were finally ready to stand together. But there was still no word from Sam. "He's all right," Jonas said, catching Clara looking down the empty road again. "He knows his business. You don't know that for sure." "No, but I know men like Sam Hayes don't go down without a fight." Jonas's voice was softer than she'd ever heard it. "He'll come through for you." On the seventh day, a rider finally appeared. Clara's heart jumped, but then it sank. It was not Sam. It was a young cowboy who worked for Stone, and he looked nervous. "Miss Mitchell," he said, swinging down from his horse with his hands up. "I'm not here for trouble. I just have a message." "What message?" The boy swallowed hard. "Mr. Stone says he's got your man. He says if you want to see—" The deal was simple. To see Sam alive again, she had to ride to Stone's ranch alone. A cold dread settled over Clara. The cowboy who delivered the message looked haunted. "I am sorry, ma'am." Mr. Hayes was getting too close to the truth. Clara's world tilted. "Is he alive?" she asked, her voice tight. "Barely." As she moved for her horse, Jonas caught her arm. "Clara, this is a trap." "I do not care," she snapped. "Going alone is a death sentence," he argued. "Then what?" she demanded. "Leave Sam to die?" Jonas's voice was steady. "No. We give Stone exactly what he wants, and then we take it all back." Their plan was forged in moments. Clara would appear to ride in by herself, but Jonas and the other ranchers would be shadows in the hills waiting for her signal to strike. "This is a huge risk," Maggie whispered. Clara methodically checked her revolver, her hands surprisingly firm. "I'm not leaving him behind." Maggie gave her a tight hug. "Just be careful," Clara promised. But they both knew it was an empty vow. The 2-hour ride gave her time to face a hard truth. Sam might already be gone. She had to be ready for that. But if he was breathing, she would tear down heaven and earth to bring him home. Stone's ranch was a fortress in a wide valley. Armed guards watched her every move with hardened eyes. A man on the porch called out, "Miss Mitchell, you are right on time." Marcus Stone looked to be about 40. His smile was wide and friendly, but his eyes were as cold as a winter creek. "I have heard stories about the woman who handled Harlan Blackwood," he said. "Impressive," Clara cut him off. "Where is Sam?" "Always direct. I like that." Stone walked down the steps. "Your friend is alive, mostly. My boys were a little rough with their questions." Clara's fists tightened. "Let me see him." "First, our business," Stone said, stopping near her. "You have been a nuisance, giving these ranchers foolish ideas about fighting back." "Your business is stealing and killing," she shot back. "My business is the future," he replied smoothly. "This valley is worth a fortune, and I will not let small men stand in the way of progress. Land belongs to the strong." "That is not law. That is tyranny." Stone let out a laugh that chilled Clara to the bone. "You have spirit. It is a shame I must kill you." "You have not done it yet," she said. "Oh, but I will," he promised, then nodded to his men. "Bring Hayes out. Show her the price for defiance." They hauled Sam out from the house, and Clara's breath caught in her throat. He was a wreck of a man. His face was a swollen purple mask. Two men held him up, his head hanging limp. "Sam," she whispered, the name in agony. He struggled to lift his head. One eye was swollen shut, but the other found her. "Clara," he rasped. "Run. I am not leaving you." Stone drew his pistol. "How touching. Now, you both get to die. The only choice you have is how painful it will be." "The real question is how many of your men are dying with me," Clara countered. Stone scoffed. "You are alone." "Am I?" She raised her hand high. For a tense second there was only silence. Then the world exploded in gunfire. Jonas and the ranchers opened up from all sides, catching Stone's crew in a terrible crossfire. The air turned to smoke and screams. Stone's shock turned to fury. "You!" Before he could react, Clara seized his gun arm, twisting it so the shot went wild. He roared and hit her with a powerful blow to the jaw. Her head swam with pain, but she stood her ground. He pulled a knife. "I have killed bigger men than you." "I am not a man," she snarled and lunged. They hit the dirt in a wild scramble. He had the strength, but she had speed and a righteous fury on her side. She was fighting for Sam and for every family Stone had ruined. His knife sliced her arm, but she barely noticed the sting. Her hands found his throat and squeezed with all her might. Stone's eyes went wide as he clawed at her, his struggles growing weaker. "This is for the Reeds," she grunted. "Clara, stop!" Sam's voice cut through her rage. She looked up to see the fight was over. Stone's men were down. Jonas was watching them, his pistol ready. "He is beaten," Sam pleaded. "Do not become him." Clara looked at the man beneath her. His face was turning a dark purple. She could end it. No one would stop her. But she thought about justice, not vengeance. She released her grip. Stone choked in a desperate breath of air. Jonas moved in quickly to tie his hands. "It is over," Clara declared, looking down at the defeated man. "You are finished, model." Deputy Marshal Cole showed up with federal men, thanks to Clara's timely messages. They arrested Stone and what was left of his crew. Watching them lead Stone away in chains, Daniel Reed just cried, "You did it." Clara gave a weary smile and said, "We all did." For 2 weeks, Sam healed while Clara stayed right by his side. "I feel like I've been kicked by a mule," he told her, "but I am alive because of you." He grabbed her hand, his voice thick with emotion. "When Stone held that knife on you, I have never known a fear like that." Clara gently kissed his brow. "It is over. We are safe now." Sam's face was still heavy with worry. "There will always be another Stone." Clara looked him square in the eye. "And we will face him together." The word "together" seemed to settle him. Once Sam could ride, they started the 4-day journey home. They took it slow, with the melting snow and new green grass marking their peaceful path. For the first time in a long while, no enemy was waiting. There was only the open road. On the 3rd day, Sam said, "I am done with that life. I want to build something instead of tearing things down. With you, if you will have me." Clara smiled. "Samuel Hayes, is that a proposal?" He reined in his horse. "I suppose it is. I do not have a ring or much else to my name. Just myself and my love for you, Clara Mitchell." Tears welled in her eyes. "Yes," she whispered. "Yes, I will marry you." A huge grin transformed Sam's face. "Truly?" he asked, pulling her in for a deep kiss that said more than words ever could. Ezra was waiting on the porch when they rode in, a wide grin on his weathered face. "It is about time," he hollered. "The ranch is doing better than ever," he told Clara after a long hug. "Word spread about what you did. Folks have been stopping by to help. You have become something of a local hero." Clara shook her head. "I am no hero, just a woman who would not quit." Ezra just nodded. "That is why you are one." 3 weeks later, they were married at sunset right there in the yard. It was a small gathering of their closest friends. Later that evening on the porch, Sam whispered, "Mrs. Hayes, I like how that sounds." Clara smiled. "Mrs. Mitchell Hayes. I am keeping my father's name." Sam pulled her tight. "Fair enough. The Mitchell Hayes Ranch. It will be our legacy." Clara looked out at their land and agreed, our legacy. 5 years turned the struggling property into a thriving ranch with new buildings and 6 hired hands. The house Clara's father built was now filled with the sounds of children. "Mama!" little Sarah cried, running to Clara with a frog. After convincing her 4-year-old that even frogs need families, Sarah ran to set it free. Sam came out holding their baby boy. "Thomas is finally asleep," he said with a smile. "He has your stubbornness, I think. He refuses to rest if anything interesting is going on." "My stubborn streak?" Clara teased, taking the baby from him. "As I recall, you were the one fixing a fence with a broken rib." They shared a knowing smile, the kind that comes from surviving hardship together. Clara walked to the window and looked out at her land. She thought back to that day in the store when she was all alone and a stranger saved her. Now she had a family, a home, and a husband who looked at her like she was the whole world. Sam came and wrapped his arms around her. "What is on your mind?" he asked. "Just how far we have come," she said, leaning against his chest. She turned to face him, looking at the man she loved so dearly. "Do you have any regrets?" he asked gently. Clara thought about all the fear and all the fighting. "Not a single one," she said. "Trusting you that first day was the best choice I ever made." He gave her a soft kiss, one that promised many more years to come. This was the life she had earned, not the one she had planned, and she would not trade it for anything. The West had done its best to break her, taking her father and threatening her home. But she never broke. She stood her ground when others told her to run, and she fought when the fight seemed lost. In the end, she had won more than just land or safety. She had won a future built on love and courage. Clara looked at her family and her home, and she knew with all her heart that every single struggle had been worth it. Some things are worth fighting for, and true love is the one most worth fighting for of all.